Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man!
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too serious. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DePrima go way back. Tight Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DePrima. Go sis. First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. The show is called First Things First. My first thing is always prayer, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's go. Man almighty, you only have a few days left to vote. It's just a handful of days. Today is Think Tank Thursday, so this is how we do it on a Think Tank Thursday. First of all, let me say happy B-Day, happy heavenly birthday to Betty Shabazz. The great Dr. Betty Shabazz's birthday is today. So this is how we're doing it on a Think Tank Thursday. Hour one, we look local. We're going to talk a little bit about this Islamophobia, and that is what we're going to put our thinking caps on about today. How do we overcome it? How is it impacting the political landscape right now, and what can we do about it? Hour two, we'll be talking with attorney Carrie Harper, who is a specialist and has worked with me over the years to help us understand the judicial races. So we'll go over all the judges in hour two. And by the way, if you just so happen to have something that looks like this, okay, we're streaming on YouTube and Facebook. That's why I'm just holding it up. But what I'm showing is the official sample ballot. If you have one of these laying around somewhere in a pile of mail, I would suggest you get it out. We can make notes together if you haven't voted already. If you have, you can help give us some advice. You can vote. The vote centers are open now. You can go anytime. And, well, I think they're 9 to 5. LAvote.net has the info. You can go and vote, the old-fashioned way early now. Or you can fill out your, vote by mail and put it in a county drop box, or you can bring it to a polling place. We got options. I wouldn't, if you're planning to actually put it in a mailbox, I would do it ASAP, probably today. Other than that, I'd go with county drop box. If you can put it in any county drop box. They got the UCLA colors, the baby blue and yellow. And it has that round county seal. That's how you know it's the official one, right? That's what I would do. That's what I do when I don't want to go to a vote center. So then hour three, we will be hearing from a candidate for LA mayor. And this particular candidate is the current mayor. So looking forward to that conversation with Karen Bass, Mayor Karen Bass, Assembly Speaker Karen Bass, Congresswoman Karen Bass, who will be here to talk about why she deserves a second term. So we got a full show today. Before I forget, I got to tell you, I had mentioned that the LA Jazz Festival was having a press conference at the Dunbar Hotel today. That has been moved. It will happen next week. I'll have details for you. I cannot wait for that because we're going to get more information, some unveilings of new artists that are joining, different programs that have been added, and different ticket structures that you can get in on. So that's next week, though, at the Dunbar, not today. Okay, I want to make sure you're not going down there erroneously. So we do have a lot to talk about, and most of it is election-wise. I am excited about our Juneteenth. I can't spill the beans, But you definitely want to register for that. There's some cool things that are going to happen at our Juneteenth picnic. Cookout. We don't say picnic anymore, right? Cookout. Our Juneteenth cookout. It's going to be Juneteenth afternoon. Most people have it off from work, and I'll be there. Pretty sure Miles will be there. Most of the KBLA team will show up, and we can hang out, break bread together, and there's going to be some, celebrity appearances. Things that are worth your time. Let me put it that way. I know there's a lot going on Juneteenth week, and I'm actually already pretty booked, but that's all good, all good, all good. So I don't know what you haven't figured out on this ballot. I said I will answer any questions you have at 800-920-1580. Any that I have answers for. Okay, any that I have answers for, and I've actually figured out mostly all of this. Yeah. The only ones that I'm still kind of back and forth about is governor, sadly. And any lingering questions about judges we will take care of next hour. The county measures, city measures, your ballot may look different from place to place to place depending on where you live. You obviously are going to have different, you will have a different congressperson to vote for, different depending on which supervisorial district you're in. You may or may not have a vote, but you may not have a candidate up this cycle. I think the things that I'm least well versed on is probably State Board of Equalization, although there are some familiar names there. And as you know, I'm not allowed to just come out and tell you who to vote for. And then assessor, right? The county tax assessor. There are 5 people running, so maybe we'll go over that. But I've got a couple folks who have DM'd me, and I shouldn't say a couple. I'm getting flooded with DMs and texts and emails, mostly from friends and long-time delegation members, whether it's here at KBLA or other radio stations that I've worked at. They're asking me for my picks. And so, I won't be saying it on the air, but keep your eyes open. But here's the thing. There are some really great voter guides. And my friend and contributor, Jasmine Canick, made a great point, which is that some of the stuff you get in the mail, it tries to make it seem like it's the real sample ballot, or it tries to make it seem like it's the Democratic Party ballot or something like that. But a lot of those are just private groups. So make sure you look at the fine print, right? Down at the bottom. I got a mailer that said, I think, cops ballot. And maybe you're meant to think, oh, this is law enforcement's official ballot or whatever. But then when you look down at the bottom, it's some political action committee with a Republican backing. So you really want to be careful. Even some of the ones that say Democratic, it could be more conservative than you, or it could be more progressive than you. So I would look at more than one, for example, for sure that. I will look at more than one and compare and contrast. The LA Progressive has a great one. I don't agree. I don't agree with everything they have on there, but I think it's very helpful. I like that one. I like the LA Forward is interesting. I like to look at that one. The Courage California Progressive Voter Guide is excellent. And you can just Google these and they'll come up and they'll tell you what their recommendations are. Now, some of the races, they'll go ahead and say no recommendation, but they'll tell you. And then, of course, you can look at the LA County Democratic Party and the LA County Republican Party. They have recommendations on their website. You compare and contrast, and it is incredibly enlightening. But Courage California and LA Progressive, definitely the top two. All right, we're talking Islamophobia. We're putting on our thinking caps. You're invited in. All that straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-242-1551. That's 800-242-1551. 800-242-1551.
Stand up!
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on!
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected, stay informed, stay loud.
Stand up!
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. Your ancestors.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
So I forgot to say that if you want to see me or talk to me, you can go on YouTube or see each other. By the way, the delegation, the KBLA delegation is always talking. It's at youtube.com and then KBLA 1580. So I told you it's a Think Tank Thursday, and I told you that our topic today on a Think Tank Thursday which will stretch the whole day, but mostly he's going to focus this hour because we have candidates to cover, including the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, who will be joining us in the final hour. It's about Islamophobia, and it feels really very appropriate. Today is Dr. Betty Shabazz's birthday, one of our more prominent Muslim citizens in the history of this country. You all, we talked some about this. You all, we were all very concerned about the attack on the mosque in San Diego. And now it's playing out against the backdrop of an election. You know her. She was a STEM teacher from Watts. She's a youth mentor, mom to a special needs child, a community organizer, and she was formerly over the Progressive Caucus in the state of California, now running for office, actually, running for assembly. Fatima Iqbal-Zubair also happens to be a very observant Muslim. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, in case you can't see, she has her hijab on. She's not playing. Happy Eid, by the way. That was yesterday, right?
Yeah, Eid Mubarak to anyone listening who celebrates. Yes.
And is that one day, or does it stretch over more than one day?
Yeah, like the day before is really important. A lot of folks fast that day. It's called the day of Arafat, and then, into Eid. So it's a couple days.
Well, I had the honor, the pleasure, the joy of being in Senegal one year in Eid, and it was so beautiful. I mean, just because people, Senegal is a mostly Muslim country, an African Muslim country. And people, I don't care how tiny the hut or how big the mansion, they were coming out dressed to the nines and partying and celebrating, all throughout the community. And I still have pictures from that. It was just a beautiful day because I got to understand the spirit of Eid. So, Eid Mubarak to you as well. So, the issue of Islamophobia, which I guess would be prejudice or hatred of Islam, is that a fair definition?
Yeah.
I feel like it flares up. It's kind of bubbling under the surface in our country all the time. This is my experience. I'm not Muslim, but this is what I've observed as a news talker about her. And then it flares up from time to time. I remember after 9/11, it was terrible. People were being attacked on the streets, name called. We saw the data on hate crimes spiking. Have you experienced that over the years, the ebb and flow of it?
Yes, I was actually near 9/11, in college when that first happened, and, seeing just the otherism, and, we saw the formation of ICE. It's all connected to that, right? Into who belongs and who doesn't. And back then I didn't wear hijab. My mom did. But it's one of the reasons I even got even bit politically activated was, I thought this country was mine too, because I always felt American first. I think that's the beauty of this country. It really belongs to all of us. And it's just started realizing that our politics could play to the worst in people and even in some good people, and I think that realization was really scary. And I think you're right. I think more than an ebb and flow, it's just, I feel like it's not exposed as much. I think people experience hate, all types of hate, but there are times like, when you are in the public space where it is more visible. But I think there are so many incidents where it's happening where no one ever talks about it and people just kind of experience it on their own, which is really sad because it still impacts them and their families.
So it's going on. It's just not in the headlines.
Right.
And you, I guess the question is, have you seen it flare up more? Because, and it's a weird question because you just said, well, it's kind of always there for, especially I imagine if you have on a hijab, because it's people identify you as Muslim immediately when they see you. So if it's kind of there all the time, do we see spikes when certain things happen? Like I'm thinking about 2024. I'm thinking about, this president coming into office, actually 2025.
And I think you're right. Yeah. Because I think I think when you're a leader, right, any leader, nationally, locally, you can set a tone for a society, for a culture. And so, you know, each of us are human beings, right? We have good parts of us and bad parts of us. And I think as a leader, you can speak to the worst parts in people and say, it's okay if you say this. It's okay if you hide behind a social media wall and, you know, say something, right? I've been called, oh, not another Ilhan Omar online, you know, multiple times.
Wow.
And I laugh about it, but it's not funny, like, you know, but it's probably my coping mechanism. But, you know, there's just things, especially online, right, that people just hide behind. And even that, it's like, you know, mine and Ilhan's stories are different, right? We're unique. We want to be seen as human beings. I think that's what hate does, though. It, you know, not only speaks to the worst part in people, it takes away like a person's story and who they are at their core, rather than just seeing what's on the outside and speaking to all the worst parts that some president is saying it's okay to say.
Yeah,
you know?
because I feel like
Right.
I've seen, and I saw this in 2016. My child was in the independent school system. And when Trump was elected, those children were emboldened. We started, you know, getting N-words hurled, or at least slickly rapped in lyrics right in his face. We saw all of a sudden all of a sudden my kid was in fights all the time because people were emboldened. Not black people were emboldened, and to probably say what their parents were saying at home, right?
And what they're hearing on a lot of mainstream media too.
Yeah. Not to mention
Yeah.
social media. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden it became a real battlefield. It wasn't like that before 2016. It was still there under the surface, and we knew, you know, we understood the microaggressions, but that in your face, and now I see it online a lot. People want to call us N-words, and, you know, a friend of mine has a shirt, "Don't let your president get your butt kicked," because you're doing things that he does or that people around him do. But in real life, somebody will sock you in the head for doing that, right? I mean, in some places.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have, you know, I don't really have a response or words for that, because it's just like, it just makes me think about, you know, the type of humanity we want, and you know, it translates to real policy too. You know, I think when we think that certain people shouldn't be included or don't deserve certain things, you know, we say that they don't belong in America, and they don't, you know, they aren't entitled to the rights, like the basic rights, you know, whether it's rights to environmental justice or, you know, going to a good school or having a home. And then it translates to a lot of that too, you know. So it's just like, it goes even beyond the hate, right? Like playing to the worst part in people, and also, you know, and I think that's what it is. And you know, Dominique, I will say, like, it is heightened, you know, with this awful president we have. But I've experienced it even as chair of the Progressive Caucus in our own party, you know, like being the first person with a hijab, you know, being elected. I will say, when I was elected, one of the first things I was asked, and I've organized, you know, as you know, in so many different spaces, is, are you going to talk about Palestine? Please don't bring it up. Literally the night I was elected, like, you know, like,
Please don't bring it up.
Yeah, like
in the Progressive Caucus. Yikes.
Out of all of the things that we work on as working people and in marginalized communities, like, you know, so I've had that happen where people, not everyone, but, you know, you'll have the right types of people see me and say, well, this is the only thing she must care about or believe in, when it's not my whole humanity or, you know, half of what I care about. Like, there's so much that we're fighting for.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too. I hadn't, you know, not connecting the dots, but I suppose what's going on in Gaza, I never like to call it a war, because, you know, one side is the 15th largest army in the world and the other side doesn't have an army. What is going on in Palestine, I guess, does that add to, it sounds like from that story, it sounds like that adds to the pressure as a Muslim person.
It does. You know, and I always think as someone who's a progressive and been an organizer, you know, my organizing in South LA started around environmental justice and educational justice. And it gets like frustrating, when we exclude certain people, right, from certain conversations and rights, whether domestically or saying like in Gaza where certain people seem to be valued more, right, than others. To me, it's like a common sense thing. Like if, I don't know, you tell me, right? Like when someone speaks about justice, if it's exclusive, just to certain groups in certain parts of the world, that is not really justice at all.
Yeah, when
right?
you say certain groups, what are you talking about? Being valued more?
Groups that are quote unquote acceptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there are moments in our history, like when women didn't have rights, or the Black community didn't have rights, or the LGBTQ community didn't have rights, and those inflection points in history, those things might have been taboo to talk about, but we pushed and we talked about those things because it was the right thing to do. Right. Oftentimes it's a civil rights issue. It's just a human rights issue. And I think, right now, talking about Palestine and, what's happening there, it should not be something so crazy to talk about. But I always call it like the issue of our time, because I think about other times in history where it was probably taboo to talk about things, and now they're just basic rights,
Yeah,
and
well, at least they were.
They were. And
right.
Oh, well, yes.
I mean, it does feel like we're going backwards, and
yes.
it does feel like that's intentional. Yeah. I mean, it's not just a feeling. I mean, they just gutted the Voting Rights Act, so it's not just that I'm having an intuitive moment here. They are, from Roe versus Wade to the Voting Rights Act, they are going backwards, and they told us what they were going to do. By they, I mean Republicans, because they said they are going to make America great again. We don't know when in time they think greatness occurred, but we know it was past tense. And so that's what we see happening. So after news, traffic, and sports, let's talk about what we can do about it, what works, and how it's impacting this election in terms of the issues, in terms of the candidates, all of that straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
I'm Brie Wood with BIN News Now. Vice President J.D. Vance says cracking down on government fraud is critical during an event at the White House.
We're protecting the American taxpayers who shouldn't have their money stolen by fraudsters. And of course, we're protecting the people who need these services.
He revealed investigators uncovered $20 billion in schemes, mostly tied to healthcare, while leading the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force. Houston Congressman Al Green's long tenure appears to be ending. He lost the Democratic primary for Texas's new 18th district to fellow Representative Christian Menifee after redistricting eliminated Green's longtime seat. Menifee now faces Republican Ronald Whitfield in November. And civil rights leader Clarence B. Jones, who helped write Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, has died at 95. Jones was a key organizer of the 1963 March on Washington and later a respected lawyer and advocate. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hard Rock Casino Tejon, where every bite equals rewards time. Savor bold flavors at Deep Cut Steak and Seafood. Discover your love for Pan Asian at Yu, or grab a classic at Hard Rock Cafe. Sign up for Unity by Hard Rock today. Must be 21 years of age or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Alabama State is the only HBCU competing in the 64-team NCAA baseball tournament. The tournament begins Friday at sites around the country. Alabama State, champions of the SWAC Conference, was placed in the Tuscaloosa Regional. The Hornets will play Alabama, the host school, on Friday in Tuscaloosa at 4 p.m. LA time. For Alabama State alumni in the LA area, you can catch the game live on ESPN+. UCLA is the #1 overall seed in the tournament. The Bruins are 51-6. The NBA gave a warning to San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama for not speaking to reporters after the Spurs' Game 5 loss to Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals. Wembanyama refused to go to the media room for the post-game press conference. The NBA has fined players as much as $25,000 for refusing to cooperate with the media. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Hey, KBLA listeners, this is Stephen Bradford, candidate for State Insurance Commissioner on June 2nd. I've spent my entire life as a public servant on the Gardena City Council, the State Assembly, and the State Senate, standing up for working families, small businesses, seniors, and communities that are too often left behind. I'm running for State Insurance Commissioner because we need an advocate, a watchdog, who will make sure insurance is not only available, but affordable for all Californians. I, like you, am tired of being dropped from coverage after doing everything right, or wondering if anyone is on your side after a disaster strikes. I will be your strongest advocate to make sure we have a vibrant insurance market that creates greater competition and more choices for consumers like yourself. We need a market that serves all of California. As your next insurance commissioner, I will be that warrior to make sure all Californians have affordable insurance. Your ballots have arrived. I ask you to vote for Stephen Bradford as your next insurance commissioner. Stephen Bradford, a name you know. Stephen Bradford, a name you can trust. Vote by June 2nd.
Paid for by Stephen Bradford for Insurance Commissioner.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. Our Think Tank Thursday topic, we're talking about Islamophobia. And now we're looking at the election. Fatima Iqbal-Zubair is here. She's a former STEM teacher. She's a mentor to students out there where she be at in Watts. She also was a former chair of the California Progressive Caucus. And, I know the mosque attack in San Diego, you were really clear that was not the beginning of you dealing with the prejudice and the hate of your spiritual tradition, but it's an example, and it's one of those things for me. It's a bit of a wake-up call, because in California we like to think we're progressive and everybody's cool and live and let live, but then we see in elections like right now where I call us bipolar. You've got the coastal cities where all the people of color are, which tend to be progressive, and then you got the whole middle of the country of the state where you get a lot of red counties, And I'm hoping that it's not my neighbors that are boosting Chad Bianco, the Riverside sheriff, the least crime-solvingest sheriff in all of California. But he's actually in contention for the governor's race. And the Republican Party didn't endorse, but apparently the American Independent Party, which is not independent, it's a right-wing party, they did endorse Bianco as an example. So, I mean, I guess I say all that to say, how is it showing up in the election? We can't delude ourselves that we're in, I think the San Diego incident shows us we can't delude ourselves that we're special and we don't have that problem here. You as a candidate, you're running for Assembly District 65. Has that showed up at all on the campaign trail or in the way that the campaign is unfolding?
Yeah, it has. I mean, what I wrote down was it's actually tied a lot to big money. So I'll kind of tell a story of what's happening and why it's happening. I mean, there are digital ads, there are nonstop mailers coming to people's houses with warplanes on it, with stacks of money, and just like speaking to the kind of the foreign tropes, right? Of,
mailers about you.
Yeah, mailers about me, my family, in front of like war missiles and like saying I'm not really anti-war, like, all this stuff. And, and my face is superimposed, right, amongst this war background, which is making it seem like, like this is someone we don't trust and we don't
like
want.
You're a commander in Iran or something
exactly.
where you've never been and have no family ties whatsoever.
Yes, exactly. And like, and the thing is, I say it's tied to big money because, right, Dominique, when we talk about things like you and I have talked about, like the connection to oil, which we see playing in a international war right now, taking money from us, or the connection to AI and big tech, why are they using these sorts of tropes, right? Because it's all connected. Like when you have the very rich, they can benefit from otherism and from anti this and anti that, because they benefit when they divide us up, right? Black, brown communities, Muslims, Christians, however it is, because then people are actually forgetting that they're the ones we need to tax, which I'm going to double down on, by the way, ads. They're the ones that are stealing from our communities, extracting from our communities. They want us to forget that. They want us to think about all the ways we are different, play to the worst parts in people. Yes, even in South LA, where it's a very black and brown and working class community, they want to create xenophobia, Islamophobia, and make us forget that our common enemy is really the billionaires and the corporations that have been lowering our wages, right? Making rent control impossible, like, rent's too high, housing too high, and healthcare impossible. And of course, we're seeing the chain of environmental injustice happen in South LA and across the state. And so they want us to forget all the things that these corporations and the 1% have been extracting and taking away from our communities, by distracting them, right, with Islamophobia.
So, I mean, I know, you are doing well, so that means it's normal for you to come under attack, right?
Yeah.
But what is it? It sounds like you're saying that the attacks on you have an anti-Islam and sort of racist undertone, overtone, dog whistle, dog siren.
Yeah, for sure. Look, my family and I, my husband and I, we both, my husband was a refugee from a civil war. I left a war, right? So it's just preposterous to think that, personally experiencing these situations that, we would be supportive or anything like that of war or anything like that, right? So they are playing to this trope of otherism, of these countries that are war torn because of American imperialism. And, the story we need to be telling is we need to be talking about the military industrial complex, the war machine, and, how, who is benefiting from that. And it's ironic, right? Because the people funding these mailers and ads, they want more of that, right? They want us to forget what's actually happening here and invest more in these wars. And so, I will bring up a point, though, that what they're really playing on is they take one small thing and two small things and make it go crazy. I'm following races across the state like Jackie Elward or Jesse Lopez, where, you and I talked sort of off air, this is happening. And they're doing the same thing, right? So my husband does work at Raytheon, which employs a lot of the South Bay. He works on sensors and radars to protect, our nation. It's such a blanket statement to say that he's building war missiles that are going to Iran. Like, that is the craziest thing to say, right? And so they're taking one small thing, they're running a mile, when both my husband and I work in mentoring students and doing all these things for the community. And so I think that is really hurtful, to say that. And, like I said, that's what they do, though. That's what the billionaires do, is they'll take an inch and then they'll run a mile and make all these extrapolations. And, and so what we're doing is we're telling the truth. We're saying, look, who's funding this? Look at what their interests are. Are these people funding it really benefiting your community, or they're trying to just confuse the electorate?
So what do we do about Islamophobia? I mean, how do we, you said talk about it.
Okay.
I guess, can we vote about it? I mean, what works?
Yeah. I think, excuse me, I think what you're doing today, and I think each of us telling our stories, right? What I found in my experience as someone who wears a hijab is the experiences I've had is there are people that could look at me and say that she must only care about one thing, right? Because of what I look like, and good, well-meaning people. But when they sit down with me, they break bread with me, and they learn the depth of my story with many different communities, alongside different communities, the issues I've worked on. The way they view me is changed. And that sounds like such a simple concept. I'm not saying we fight racism with just conversations. It's not just that. But I do think, in my experience, at least my lived experience, it does start there, and so that does help. Because the thing is, the reason people can hate online, or hate is allowed and normalized, is they put people in groups. They say that if we give too much power to this group, or even equal rights to this group, or they deserve certain things, it means that we get less. And that's not really what it means. And like I said, we're forgetting the true enemy. So I think the other thing is, I'll say what we can vote on too, because, I'll reiterate the point and sound like a broken record on this, but it is true. The 1%, the people hoarding this wealth, they're counting on us to fight each other. They're counting on us to hate each other, because then we're forgetting who our real enemy is.
It's so crazy, though. You were endorsed by Bernie Sanders
right.
in 2020 or something.
This election as well.
Okay, you've been endorsed by him now. And we talk so much about billionaires and how they're hoarding wealth, but then a lot of progressives have jumped on board with Tom Steyer for governor, and he is a billionaire. In fact, we were talking about this off air too. Right. Amanda Seales has been going, ham on social media about how stupid some progressives are, because they're voting for a billionaire no matter what he says. And I have other friends that feel that way too. Oh, well, he's just buying the race. At the same time, you've got, to me, everyone tries to buy the race. You take as much money as you have and you try to buy the race, because you have to buy commercials, you have to buy recognition. But the point is, that doesn't that seem like a bit of a contradiction?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Actually, that's very important. It's tied to my race and tied to the governor's race 100%. So one thing I want to say, just let people know, is I'm not just coming at this as a mentor and teacher. I've worked in state politics. I'm still a consultant for an advocacy nonprofit, even during my campaign. And it's not my opinion. It's a fact, because we see it. At the nonprofit I worked on, we run scorecards on oil money. And there's a direct correlation between who's supporting common sense climate policies and who's not, and which types of Democrats are and which not, who aren't. It's the same thing with criminal justice reform policies. It's the same thing with healthcare and single-payer healthcare, okay? So I'll start there. And the common thread we see is that if you take a certain type of industry money, you don't support bold things for that policy issue area, whether it's holding big oil accountable, fighting for single-payer healthcare, talking about things like reparations or criminal justice reform, right? And here's what I will say about the governor's race, and I just have to have people think about it. Yes, Tom Steyer is a billionaire, but who is he beholden to? Like, he's not running his election based on hundreds of thousands of dollars from oil companies, or hundreds of thousands of dollars from, I saw recently, Uber or Airbnb or the healthcare industry. And it's not crazy also that because he's not getting that money, that he is the only candidate really being bold on taxing the rich, talking about single-payer healthcare, talking about reparations. Like, it's as simple as that, right, Dominique? I want a governor personally that is effectively 1/3 of the power in Sacramento, right? Can sign and veto bills. That's going to sign things for communities that have been marginalized and left behind.
I mean, that is another conversation we were having off the air. That how important that signature is. If once you elect a governor, whether or not something can become law in California depends on their signature. So we have to think about who would sign what. Paul is in the chat on YouTube. He says, follow the money. Steyer funds his own campaign. Okay. If you take money from oil lobbyists and donors, it's going to come with deals and agreements.
I could talk about Steyer's money if you want right now.
Yeah, let's talk about that when we come forward. Well, let's do it now.
Okay. Yes, no candidate, no political candidate, right, is ever perfect. And Steyer, one thing I appreciate is he's talked about how he became a billionaire, and he left it like 10, 15 years ago, and his wife and him have been giving away the money and doing a lot of great initiatives like getting young voters to vote, working on climate justice, passing propositions, right? And we have to look at now and the future, right? And the crisis we're in. I would push back and say, have other governor candidates besides Steyer committed to things that Paula in the chat and others care about. It really comes down to that, right? Everyone has a past. Every candidate in that race, even in my race, has a past. But what it comes down to is, what are we committing to in Sacramento? Who are we going to work for, right? And that's what it comes down to.
We are talking with Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. You are welcome to call in at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. When we come forward, though, I got to just take a brief turn from the Islamophobia conversation because I want to tap into your brain around environmentalism. We've had a bunch of disasters, and this may have some impact in terms of how we're looking at what races are on our very long ballot, which I have likened to an SAT test. All that is coming up on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhoods safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California, 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-444-2013. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-2013. That's 800-444-2013 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. 800-444-2013.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580 connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise massive network of grassroots supporters and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Fatima Iqbal-Zubair is here. She is running for office. But we're talking about Islamophobia and also putting that lens on the mayor's race. But I got to take a moment for your green glasses that you wear everywhere you go, because you've worked a lot with environmental nonprofits, and that's your personal passion, is making sure that we have a livable planet. Because honestly, every other race and every other issue is moot if we do not have a planet that can support human life.
Right.
Yeah.
And communities that can support human life, right? This is happening very locally.
I mean, what the heck?
Yeah.
The
One after
chemical
the other.
spill, and then we've got the Sandy fire, which was supposedly threatening a nuclear site, and then you have the oil spill in East LA, and I think I'm forgetting something.
What? And Dominique, this is very connected to what we talked about this past hour, right? Because what is oil connected to? More wars, more billionaires. I mean, it's all connected. Just yesterday, I was on a community meeting, and they were talking about, community members were asking the basic thing, and this was, the Compton world oil spill, right? That's happening. It's happened in our district, or the safety incident. They were just asking for basic things like, why, when that happened, did we not even get a notification?
Hello, Eaton
because
fire
we're having health outcomes, right?
lessons.
But for me, the thing I'm frustrated about is that why are we in 2026 only asking for that? Because here's the thing, having worked on state policy and looking at how many of these safety facilities, whether they do oil or production, for war missiles, how many of them have violated and had, violations literally under the law for not operating, with the right types of machinery or safety operations or components, and not pay their fines, and they're still being allowed to operate. So I was saying on that call, we need to take legal action, because yes, the communities need the health, notifications, but to me, we have to go beyond that and say that if you want to do business in South LA or these communities and you're breaking the law, you can't do business here.
Hello.
It's not like,
I mean, they shut down small businesses. They raided cannabis dispensaries, but a company can just dig and cause a hole.
Well, it's because they're giving money to politicians, right?
Oh.
So
there
I'm
we
just
go.
gonna
Back
say
to that.
I'm just gonna say. I mean, you wonder why they're not held to the same accountability standards as someone that can just be locked away from a small misdemeanor. Like it's all tied.
Big tech is big in this election.
Yes.
And right now the data centers are one of
let's
the
talk about
hugest environmental issues. And data centers are not just in faraway Georgia, right? They're also an issue in California.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'll tie this back to, yes, my work in state policy and what's happening locally. So in fact, even in Carson right now in our district, there's a battery storage project that residents are really upset about. And I frankly think they have a right to be, because it's being built near sensitive receptors, which is where people live and work. And community members and I were wondering, how the heck did this happen? And look, it's happening in Carson again, right? This is what's happening. So when we talk about data centers, do you think they're going to build this in wealthy white communities? Where our water can be contaminated? No, they're not. And it comes down to, again, the money, like you talked about, because right now in my race and races, I think across the state, the biggest money, oil money is still a player, police money is still a player. It's AI money, it's meta money, it's data center money, millions and billions of dollars, right? Because they want permission to do as they will in Black and brown communities. And, I don't care that they're attacking me. I will say it on air. I will not have it. You cannot pollute in our communities. You cannot do that in our communities. There has to be engagement. There has to be labor standards, because, Meta, I think it's crazy that they're donating to candidates and they're laying off workers. So Talk about also creating jobs. Like, not only is there a climate impact, you also do not care for the worker in these industries. You don't.
So how do you track the big tech money? How do you track the big oil money in these elections?
I'll just share. Okay, look, knowledge is power. So I learned this when I first ran. The California Secretary of State, there are, even they have to report, right, this money. And so if you just search, what I do is I Google, Secretary of State independent expenditure money, Dominique. And I don't know if I should talk about that on the air. What is independent expenditure money? So let me tie it to that. So there's money that a candidate raises or can give themselves, right? Okay. And then there is all of this dark money where you can't coordinate with a candidate, but it's called an independent expenditure. And do you know that there are no laws as to how much they can spend? And so what you're seeing even just in my race is over $5 million spent in a tiny district race, most of it to boost my corporate Democratic opponent and oppose me. Actually, almost all of it. And it is crazy to me. And follow the money is what I say. So when you go and search Secretary of State and independent expenditures, you can look up a candidate and you can see what money is for them, what is against them. For me, for my opponents, for the governor candidates as well. It's all there. And you should see, well, okay, why is this one entity like Big Tech putting forth $3 million for one candidate? That should make people think about things like data centers in their district or battery storage projects or Meta and AI, right? What are they trying to buy? That's the question you should be asking.
It's a really great question. How do we track you real quick? How do we find out what you're up to?
Yeah. So my website, FatimaForAssembly.com, is where you can find more about me, including...
Is it number 4 or FOR?
Oh, FOR. FORassembly.com. My social media is on there. We talk about... We have a section on our website called Get the Facts amongst all these attack ads. It's crazy that we have to even do that. But, that's on there. My policies, my priorities, ways you can get involved and donate and support a corporate free candidate like myself. Which it's very hard to run with all this big money, but we're doing it and we're one of the leading candidates, and so I hope folks can support.
Got to leave it there.
All right.
Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, great to see you. Thank you for coming in. Be safe.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're talking judges next. Judges. Get your little notepad out. We're doing this. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Vice President J.D. Vance says cracking down on government fraud is critical during an event at the White House.
We're protecting the American taxpayers who shouldn't have their money stolen by fraudsters. And of course, we're protecting the people who need these services.
He revealed investigators uncovered $20 billion in schemes, mostly tied to healthcare, while leading the White House anti-fraud task force. Houston Congressman Al Green's long tenure appears to be ending. He lost the Democratic primary for Texas's new 18th district to fellow Representative Christian Menifee after redistricting eliminated Green's longtime seat. Menifee now faces Republican Ronald Whitfield in November. And civil rights leader Clarence B. Jones, who helped write Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, has died at 95. Jones was a key organizer of the 1963 March on Washington and later a respected lawyer and advocate. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hard Rock Casino Tejon, where every bite equals rewards time. Savor bold flavors at Deep Cut Steak and Seafood. Discover your love for Pan Asian at Yu or grab a classic at Hard Rock Cafe. Sign up for Unity by Hard Rock today. Must be 21 years of age or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Alabama State is the only HBCU competing in the 64-team NCAA baseball tournament. The tournament begins Friday at sites around the country. Alabama State, champions of the SWAC Conference, was placed in the Tuscaloosa Regional. The Hornets will play Alabama, the host school, on Friday in Tuscaloosa at 4 p.m. LA time. For Alabama State alumni in the LA area, you can catch the game live on ESPN+. UCLA is the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. The Bruins are 51-6. The NBA gave a warning to San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama for not speaking to reporters after the Spurs' Game 5 loss to Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals. Wembanyama refused to go to the media room for the post-game press conference. The NBA has fined players as much as $25,000 for refusing to cooperate with the media. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just